Hi, everyone. I'm Whitney Wyatt with Ehrlich Architects. And our case study is 122nd Street Elementary School, which is located in south central Los Angeles, just south of Watts and north of Compton, about 9 miles inland from the coast. It's a K through 5 elementary school in the Los Angeles Unified School District, and it serves about 600 students. It's in a dense urban neighborhood. Most of the students and their families can walk to school, and they consider the school their backyard. It was built in 1961, and as you can see, it's a 6.5-acre campus that's composed mostly of 1- and 2-story structures that have very little connection to the exterior environment, and that exterior environment is predominantly characterized by asphalt. Now, most of you probably know that the LAUSD is the second largest school district in the nation, but what you may not know is that it's also the second largest landowner in Los Angeles, with over 7,000 acres on 900 campuses spread over 710 square miles, serving 700,000 students. It's a lot of sevens. And all of these facts really struck us as we began the study. That's a lot of land, a lot of people, and a lot of diverse communities, and there's a huge opportunity here if we thought about implementing something district-wide to inspire change and make an impact. So when you couple that fact with the fact that Los Angeles itself has been identified as one of the most park-poor cities in the nation, with over 1.5 million students under the age of 18 not living within walking distance of a park, and that many of the LAUSD campuses, like 122nd Street, are located in park-poor neighborhoods themselves. There was a real opportunity here to think about if we were to transform the entire campus, and not just 1 or 2 buildings, but think about the exterior open space and landscape, how we could start to really raise community awareness and investment. And what if we reintroduced the open space and shared resources back to the community on weekends and after hours to provide a platform that not only educates the students, but their families? There's a real chance for some major transformation. And so we wanted to start by looking at this really obvious issue, the exterior space, and provide a new vision and a meaningful and more user-friendly connection to the surroundings and natural environment. We started really simply by establishing 3 simple goals for ourselves. One was to boost educational opportunities and student achievement in addition to saving money and resources. We also wanted to leverage exposing students to sustainable design principles and practices early in their educational experience, to ingrain a fundamental understanding and lifelong appreciation for conservation, in a sense, creating new environmental stewards, a new generation of environmental stewards. And we wanted to promote this idea that learning can happen everywhere on campus, and really emphasize how the entire campus could be transformed into a teaching tool and serve as a way to create curriculum and opportunities for project-based learning activities. So we started by looking at the campus and dividing it into 4 quadrants based on different program and activities that were currently happening: learning and study, recreation, play, socialization, and community. And we created a list of measures, like many of the firms you've already heard today, that include both passive and active strategies that schools could then pick and choose from to implement now or over time based on available funding, similarities in campus construction and design, their local climate, and their educational mission. And we thought about how these interventions and measures could be spread across the entire campus, in a sense, stitching together those quadrants and blurring the lines between where different programs like study and play occur to create a more cohesive campus transformation and turn the entire school into a teaching tool and an opportunity for learning, and as well as creating a valuable community resource and amenity. So just looking at a few examples, starting with the idea of gathering and working from the outside in, addressing the lack of shade on campus. Currently on that 6.5-acre parcel, there's only 28 trees, mostly along the extreme perimeter of the site. We thought about how we could introduce solar canopies, approximately 15 by 15 feet in size, to harvest the sun's energy and power site lighting to extend recreational hours for that use after school. And and one canopy could potentially offset the power use for 3 lights. So you can see how these elements could also become demonstration stations for students to learn about environmental design through hands-on experience and observation. Imagining the playgrounds at 122nd Street, as I mentioned, are consisting primarily of impermeable asphalt, which contributes to heat island effect and increases the temperature by as much as 6 degrees on an average day here, making thermal comfort a real issue and fairly restrictive when it comes to play and recreation. But by introducing permeable materials such as decomposed granite, native species and drought-tolerant plants, and installing an underground catch basin to collect stormwater runoff, the 6.5-acre site could divert nearly 200,000 gallons of water from the storm drain and either infiltrate it back into the water table and aquifer or recycle it for irrigation, while at the same time creating a more natural and diverse playground for students to explore, discover, and imagine, and to provide an opportunity to teach them about California's natural heritage in the LA Basin, their local watershed, and to promote neighborhood awareness about best management practices for water. As I mentioned before, the campus is fairly insular, and class activities and learning take place primarily indoors with very little connection to the outdoors. With the DSA initiative, we saw an opportunity to try and draw the outside in and to extend learning outside, to provide hands-on interaction with the natural world, and to facilitate more opportunities for project-based learning. 2 passive measures, such as daylighting and natural ventilation, can assist us in connecting the classrooms with the natural environment, while also saving energy consumption on both electrical and mechanical costs. The typical classroom building at 122nd Street consists of 6 860-square-foot classrooms stacked on 2 floors that are clustered, stacked on 2 floors with direct egress on either level. There's a 8-foot wide balcony that also serves as an overhang on the 2nd floor, and the roof also has an 8-foot wide overhang. So there's a lot of protection from solar heat gain and glare. With that said, only 20% of the exterior wall area in each classroom is glazing. And that exterior glazing itself is composed of a single pane of laminate glass, which has become degraded and very cloudy over time. Coupled with that, LAUSD has a policy for strict security measures, and there's security grading, which almost completely creates an opacity to that fenestration, making it no less or no more transparent than the opaque plaster walls that surround it. And so the classrooms essentially rely entirely on artificial lighting. We started to look at the natural daylight levels that are currently possible, and currently less than half the classroom receives the ideal lighting levels that you would like to see. But by replacing that 20% with 60% of the exterior wall and the non-structural area that's surrounding the current glass, we could reduce overall electrical lighting costs by 60% while only minimizing increased cooling loads due to those, minimally increasing those loads due to the overhangs that I mentioned before. You could start to see the results where you start to look at and understand better having that connection with the natural environment and the outdoors. Taking it one step further, others have mentioned the solar tube skylights and striving towards net zero energy. If we were to introduce just 4 10-inch diameter solar tubes within the classroom that could have integral LED lighting for cloudy or after-hour use as well. We can replace all of the existing artificial lighting needs. And since we are dealing with a two-story structure, we looked at how we could cluster the skylights in a vertical shaft or chimney that would serve the ground floor level. And then that shaft could actually start to work for us in two different ways, providing a stacking effect for natural ventilation. When we start to introduce more glazing and operable windows at the perimeter, we can use this shaft or chimney to promote air infiltration and natural ventilation within the space as well. And all of these things obviously have a positive effect, reduces absenteeism, promotes more productivity and concentration, and again, gives those opportunities to have a connection with the natural world and introduce more project-based learning to the environment or to the classroom environment. And here we're showing how we could start to take over those circulation paths as well, introducing, STEM sort of opportunities. We're calling this our farmer's box, but it could be a science sort of lab as well, where students could really start to interact with and utilize the outdoors in part of their studies. So all of the interventions that I've shown so far are fairly modest and simple. But they still have the ability to create a new sense of place and a new identity for the school campus, which can really help to galvanize the community and gain support and encouragement and a sense of ownership and an investment in sustaining these changes long term. And so we really recognize that the campus edge is very important, and the assembly building on this campus in particular, or just so happens to have a location along the street and in close proximity to the main entry of the school. We saw that is not only allowing an opportunity to serve as the central gathering space where campus and community can come together, but it could also showcase many of the measures to the community and become the new face of the school. So this is a simple diagram showing the auditorium building, which has sort of a shed roof, and there's a small grass turf lawn in front of the building as well. The areas of grass turf could be replanted with native plants and microhabitats, demonstrating local ecology and vegetation to the surrounding neighborhood community, as well as they could, utilize that even as a community garden. Stormwater runoff from this roof alone could be stored in rain barrel fencing to irrigate the gardens and save on water consumption. The assembly building on this campus has a 7,200 square foot roof, which could collect 2,600 gallons of water per year and irrigate a 1,000 square foot native garden for up to 10 months, saving as much as $18,000 annually on water. The daylighting and ventilation strategies we discussed for the classroom could also be employed here to help promote a more welcoming environment to the 200-seat windowless auditorium that currently exists. An ample clear-story glazing with operable windows could be added on the north and south facades while still being protected from glare and solar heat gain by the roof overhangs, and the solar tube skylights with integral LED lighting could be positioned over the center of the space to help provide more uniform light levels without the need for artificial lighting. And sections of the floor to ceiling glazing could also be introduced to provide a more direct visual connection and a physical connection to the outdoors and increase that sense of transparency and openness to the community. While also that could then be sun-shaded and protected by vertical green screens that again promote and sort of telegraph or communicate the school's commitment and alternative or progressive thinking to the community and this change in their culture. So in conclusion, the renovation of a school to reduce energy and water consumption is an opportunity to embrace the environment and leverage it to create a resource for everyone that can have long-lasting benefits, which far last well beyond their time in primary or secondary school. The changes can be transformational and influence today's youth, who will become tomorrow's leaders and champions for the future of sustainability in the environment. I want to implore you to join me and to join us in raising awareness and spreading the message and changing California one school at a time. Thank you.